Debt ceiling. Yesterday, I spoke with Representative John Garamendi of California about the ongoing debt limit debate in Congress, and he said basically, who is it for the Republicans to talk to us about spending because they've raised the debt ceiling before? This is part of what he had to say.
During the Trump period, the debt ceiling was raised 3 times by the Republicans and by President Trump as they were adding $7.8 trillion to the debt. And now suddenly this becomes an issue. No, this is all about trying to use the debt ceiling as a nuclear option or a nuclear weapon to get their way.
That was yesterday. Today, we're going to go to the other side of the aisle and talk to Republican Congresswoman from Florida. She's María Elvira Salazar. She serves on the Foreign Affairs and Small Business Committees. So, Congresswoman, thank you so much for being with us. Sure. That was the Democratic point of view. But I got to ask you, does he kind of have a point that there's some responsibility, if not guilt, on both sides of the aisle about running up the debt?
Of course, then we should not be doing what we're not asking the average American family to do, which is to spend more than they make. You know, when you talk to your children and you tell them, hey, you have to stay within your allowance or you have to make ends meet with what you earn or what your salary, is the same thing for the government. So yeah, there's waste, there's fraud, there's a lot of problems in every branch of government, and we should be going there and cutting. But at the same time, we are the United States and we need to be responsible. We need to be paying our debts. We cannot default on our debts, but at the same time, put the house in order. So that's what we have to do. And I'm very happy that Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, is going to be meeting with the president. And now the president is willing to negotiate and put an end to this situation. But at the same time, sending the message to the rest of the world that we are not going to default on our debts.
So let's talk about that meeting that's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but there is reporting, at least, ABC News was reporting, for example, that President Biden will say, can we agree, as you just said, we won't default on our debts, number one. Number two, I'll put forward a budget, a fairly specific budget, March 9. Why don't you, Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, you put forward a specific budget as well? Are those two reasonable requests? They kind of sound reasonable to me, but I'm not in the middle of it.
Well, I think that they are, and then you do reconciliation, which is the same thing that we do with the House and the Senate, and we come together and as a committee, and then we put together the final version. Of course, hey, the word is bipartisanship. The word is working together, which is what the American people out there, those people who are working and not spending more than what they earn, would want from us. There's no difference between the regular family that sits around the kitchen table to put together their finances in order and the United States government. Why should we be better or spend more?
As you say, Congresswoman, bipartisanship sounds like a good way to resolve the problem with the debt ceiling. Let's talk about another problem. That's immigration, because that's clearly a big problem. Do we need bipartisan action to really deal with all the aspects of immigration at once rather than just one of them?
Of course, we need bipartisanship. Since Ronald Reagan, we've not been able to put the immigration house in order. And that is why I, a member of the GOP, a sophomore in Congress, I presented last year the Dignity Bill. Dignity. And why? Because we need to fix 4 things. First of all, we need to seal the border. Seal it tight, because we do not want any more fentanyl. Number 2, we have to allow for the future Albert Einsteins who want to come to America to work to come in legally. So we have to fix the legal immigration. Number 3, we need to give dignity to those people. Dignity, I'm not talking about amnesty, I'm talking about dignity, not citizenship. To those people who have lived among us for 13, 15 years. You have 15 million illegals, right, who have been here for more than 5 years. Give some dignity to those. And at the end, to pay or re-educate those American workers who feel that they have lost their jobs because the illegals have come to take it away. We have within the Dignity Bill, we have a provision that we are going to re-educate those American workers. Easy. It's an easy fix. The problem is that you need one thing called political willingness. And that's why I'm here. A brown girl from the hood, from Miami. I have presented a very good bill, and I need bipartisan support to make it through.
So where does it stand, Congresswoman? Because as you lay that out, I mean, I haven't studied it all, but that sounds pretty reasonable. It also sounds a little bit like what I thought we were close to under the Trump administration. We came close, didn't we, to some sort of a bipartisan arrangement that included an awful lot of what you just said?
No, under Trump, it was basically taking care of the dreamers, because that's what the Democratic Party, specifically Nancy Pelosi, she wanted to take care of 1.8 million dreamers, which is okay. But there's a lot more people behind or besides the dreamers who are illegal in this country. And then Trump wanted some border security, and the Democrats did not want to even go there. Well, now reality has hit everyone in the face, and look at what's happening at the southern border. We, the Hispanics, largest minority in the country, I say it once again, we do not want illegal immigration because those people are going to wind up in our barrios. We have the fentanyl, we have the child sex traffickers, the coyotes, the terrorists. We don't want any of that. We want order. And then those who are here already be able to live in dignity in the promised land, and at the same time help. Look, you are a business-oriented news station. Yes. You know the business community in this country is dying for hands. They need, if we want to grow as the #1 economy in the world, we need to keep on growing economically. And how do you do that? By having workers. There are no workers.
You are so right. Every single person we talk to for the business community says we got to fix this immigration because we need the workers. One last one, because I know it's really important to you. You proposed a resolution with Steve Scalise, one of your colleagues there, Republican colleague, condemning socialism. I've read through it, and again, business-oriented, we believe in capitalism. It sounds pretty reasonable to me. But in reading it, I wondered, who's on the other side of that argument? Is anybody in a prominent position in the United States today arguing for socialism? Because I'm not sure who they are. I mean, really, like nationalizing companies? Is anybody arguing for that?
Look, I come from Miami, the heart of the Cuban exile community. We know what socialism means. So you may call it democratic socialism or pragmatic socialism or simpatico socialism. I don't care. As long as you hear the word socialism, you run the other way. Because we know that the democratic socialism is what Hugo Chavez promised the Venezuelans 20 years ago. And democratic socialism is what Fidel Castro promised the Cubans 60 years ago. And I don't have to tell you how those stories ended, right? The average Venezuelan weighs 15 pounds less because of lack of food, because there is no production. The average Cuban eats only once a day because there is no food. 50% of the Cuban land is not produced, and so and on and on and on. So we're going to bring this to the floor, and let's see which member of Congress wants to vote against this idea.
Okay, we will certainly be watching that closely. Thank you so much. Really great to have you with us. That's Republican Representative María Elvira Salazar.